welcome to our next Up Level Live session. If you are new here, welcome. I'm sure we're just going to take a few minutes to wait for everyone to join us. So like I said, if you are new to Up Level Live sessions, I am Robin Cohen. I am the co-founder of Up Level. Up Level is a micro-learning online experience. We have live webinars every single Wednesday, and we have new speakers each week. And we're either talking about all things career or all things entrepreneurship. And so I am thrilled beyond belief to have Laurel Mintz here with us today. I have known Laurel for, how long have we known each other, Laurel? Like 12 years, probably?
At least, I mean, probably like 15, I want to say.
Maybe. So these are the moments and the speakers that I get most excited about, that they've been in my world for so long and that they can be a part of the Up Level community. And so if you are new to Zoom webinar, because some people are, I know a lot of people are doing Zoom meeting, but with Zoom webinar, you can hit the chat and the chat window is going to be to your right. And what we love to do is we love to separate the chat from our audience Q&A. So you'll also see the Q&A button down below. Click that and put your questions in there. Because like I said, we really want to separate all the chit chat that's going on the side so that we can prepare for the Q&A at the end of Laurel's session. And so also, wherever you're tuning in from, please let us know. For example, I am based in Salt Lake City, Utah. Laurel, where are you based?
I'm in lovely Los Angeles, California.
La La Land. Love it. So yes, please let us know where you are tuning in from. And like I said, when you have your questions ready for Laurel and we're getting ready for the audience Q&A, please put them in the Q&A section. So without further ado, I am going to tell you about Laurel. So with a JD and MBA from Rutgers University, Laurel's background has uniquely prepared her to run a successful agency. Inspired by the innovative consulting work she executed early in her career with prestigious brands like LABJ Public House Restaurant Group, Bassett Furniture, and Julie Hewitt Cosmetics, Laurel knew she wanted to play bigger. A decade later, Laurel has created an agency family serving both startups and blue-chip global brands such as Facebook, Verizon Digital Media Group, Paw Patrol, and Zendesk. Laurel's favorite saying is FIOGID, which is figure it out and get it done. And that's exactly what's brought the agency top talent and accolades since 2009. Laurel sits on the board of directors for NFTE, which is Network for Teaching Leadership, the Women Founders Network, and the UCLA Restaurant Conference. She is a mentor for the Women's Global Leaders Initiative and advises LAVA, Los Angeles Venture Association. Laurel wrote a weekly Inc. magazine column appropriately entitled On Brand for 3 years. Her published work can be found in Entrepreneur, USA Today, the American Marketing Association, and C-Suite Quarterly magazine. Laurel and the agency have recently won the W3 Silver Award for the Paw Patrol Road Patrol campaign, the 2017 Patrick Soon-Shiong Innovation Award, the LABJ Women in Business Award, Comerica, and LA Lakers Women's Business Award, among many others. When she's not wowing clients with amazing creative, you can find Laurel with her husband cuddling with their furry kids, Miso and Twizzler, food obsessed much, or testing out a new recipe in the kitchen with a good glass of wine, of course. Well, welcome, Laurel. We're so excited to have you here. Like I said, everyone, please don't be shy. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Laurel, I want to open up with just a few questions before we give the stage over to you, because knowing that you've run your agency for so many years, through ups and downs, personal, local, global, whatever that looks like, I think people want to know, what's the secret sauce? So when was the moment you knew you had to start your own business?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a moment because I mean, my story, but to share with the audience, I was a corporate M&A attorney before I started the agency, and I actually ended up as an entrepreneur by accident. So my dad got sick. I had to step away from the law and step in to act as interim CEO of his company for about 3 years. He went through cancer and chemo and all that stuff. He survived. So if everyone could knock wood, it's a really happy ending story. And then what happened was after he stepped back in and I stepped away and went after those big law firm jobs again, I was getting those great six-figure offers that should have made me deliriously happy. And I was like physically and viscerally nauseous. It was like so clear to me that that was no longer my path. Although at the time I didn't really know what the path was. And as you know, and as you guys can see from my bio, I have an MBA and it happens to be in marketing. And so I started schmoozing and boozing with other entrepreneurs, figuring out where their pain points were, and they were all around marketing. And so I kind of wiggled my way into an opportunity in marketing, successfully raised $5 million for Julie Hewitt Cosmetics for her first beauty line.
Oh, wow.
And ended up doing all of the marketing campaigns, initiatives, and strategy behind that in order to allow her to fundraise. And so I was like, okay, I could do this. I got this. And that's pretty much when Elevate My Brand was born. That's when I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to play a bigger game. And that's when I did my branding work, my incorporation, and really started showing up as a business.
I love it. Well, that's amazing. I didn't know the story about Julie Hewitt. So that's pretty amazing. Good for you. So what has been the key thing for your success over, the last decade?
Gosh, I don't think there's a magic bullet. I think people often are on these webinars and they listen to these big, C-suite executives who have these massive multi-million-dollar companies. And the truth is that there's no magic bullet. It's really about hustle and being able to fall down and continue to pick yourself up. Because trust me, I have fallen on my face more so, if not as much as the next guy or girl. And it's about just continuing to believe in yourself and putting one foot back in front of the other, even when you get smacked down. And it's not easy. Entrepreneurship is a really, really challenging journey. I know you know this, but I think it's about that stick-to-itiveness and really believing in yourself, because if you're going to invest in anything, it should be in yourself, because you're probably the best investment you can ever make.
Yes, wholeheartedly agree. And so in talking about your legal background, how do you think that that's helped you in running your business?
Well, I certainly took it very seriously from the beginning. And as we talk about the presentation today, I'm going to talk about that a little bit in more detail. But, I understood how to issue spot differently than my colleagues that were on the business side. I could understand what was happening before an issue arose. And I also had all my contracts super polished and buttoned up, as well as all of my incorporation, all of my trademarks, all of those pieces that really build a business. I had those done, I think, probably far earlier than most brands or entrepreneurs ever think they need to do it, because I understood the value and the importance of it. And the other thing I'd say is I'm a negotiation whiz. I love the art of the deal. That's part of my fun in life. And then I also don't let people mess with me. The truth is having this background, I often am so amazed that people try and mess with contracts, because I'm like, you do see all the letters after my name, right? Like, this is not going to fly. I know you think that you can get away with it, but don't mansplain my contract to me. I will take you down.
Yeah.
So it's been helpful.
Yeah. And I think that, it's not just even from your legal background, but I think when, being a woman, right, being a female entrepreneur, business owner, or whatever, I think that there's that, that sense of really like holding strong, right, to who you are, your business, what you do, your services, because I think that it's just it's just a little bit more challenging for us. Let's say that.
For sure.
So yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Well, without further ado, I want to give the stage over to you. Everyone, this is going to be an incredible presentation about how to walk, talk, and act like a business. Laurel is going to teach you all of the key ins and outs in terms of starting a business. And so feel free to chat. I'm going to be, typing in notes and whatnot so that we can kind of follow along in our presentation. Don't be shy. Start to put in your questions. As soon as you have one is the Q&A section. We will have the Q&A, so the audience Q&A at the end. And at the very, very end, we are going to announce the winner. The person's going to get an exclusive marketing strategy session with Laurel. So I would say, this is going to be the most amazing giveaway. So definitely make sure that you are here, you are participating, and you are engaged so that we can, enter you in at the end. So without further ado, let me give you the panelist share screen. Do you have it? Perfect.
All right. Robin, if you could just give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen in full screen mode. Perfect. All right. And as Robin said, ask questions. I really want to make sure that this is valuable for you guys. I have done, even since the pandemic, I have done so many of these talks, whether it's focused on marketing or branding or even the legal side and showing up as an entrepreneur for yourself. And so I could talk about this for days at a time. I want to make sure this is super, super effective for you. So I know we're trying to keep Q&A to the end, but I'm happy to incorporate if you have very specific questions as we go through as well. Just let us know, and let me see. I think I can bring up. No, I can't in full screen. Yeah, yes, I can. Okay, so there's my QAs open, and my chat should be open as well. So make sure that you ask questions as we go, so that these are really relevant for you. And I think we're going to send the deck post conversation as well, so you guys can have this. And really my goal is always to actually not get through much of the deck, because you guys are asking so many interesting and dynamic questions that are relevant to your business. So please engage. And with that, I'm going to start clicking on through. Obviously, Robin gave me a fantastic intro. Thank you so much for that. I can't believe how much I've done in my career, and still hustling up the hill every single day. And, to her question earlier, it's really about just putting one foot in front of the other every single day. Do you guys think I wake up every day and want to get up and hustle? It's really about forcing yourself to put one foot in front of the other every single day, especially on the days that you don't want to. And by the end of it, you'll wake up and realize that you've built something really powerful. And again, not every day is going to be perfect, but every day is going to be valuable. And I actually don't believe in failure. I really believe in lessons learned. How can you take that falling down moment, that failure point, and make sure that you never do that again? That's really what we want to talk about today as well. And of course, setting you up for success from jump. I think that's one of the big fail points for a lot of businesses, is that they kind of pretend and they don't really go full force into their brands. And it's really important to your success journey. All right. So with that, again, some of the brands we've elevated all the way from Facebook down to baby startup brands, but just to give you a little bit of our cachet, because we've got to have a little bit of bravado. And I would say that's another really important point in terms of success, making sure that you are braggadocious. People, especially women, tend to be shy. We say yes to things we shouldn't, and we don't take all the credit that we should when we are actually at the forefront of something amazing, whether that's a campaign or a new company or a new product. So I would hope that you take away some empowerment from this conversation, and that you go forth and you be fabulous and be yourself. And bragging, not in an offensive way, but look, you guys all have amazing backgrounds. You are showing up today for yourself and for your business. That means that you believe at your core that you have got something that is worthwhile. So make sure the rest of the world knows about it. And a great tool for those of you who can't hire publicists, which I know a lot of startup brands are still very lean, is PR Newswire. If you want to do a simple press release, that's a really easy one. And then, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking. There is I'll remember it and put it out there. There's Robin, if you remember, there's a platform that asks for content from entrepreneurs. I'm
Is
totally
it
Haro.
Haro?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, thank you. Perfect. Haro, help a reporter out, which is a fantastic platform for you to get free PR about your brand before you're able to hire a publicist and go full bore. So I would highly, highly recommend you take those two approaches. The press release, a lot of people have said, is dead. I want you to look at it more as an SEO tool, because PR Newswire puts so much energy behind getting those releases picked up. And when I mean a press release, I'm talking about, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, really announcing the brand, announcing new products, announcing seasonal campaigns. And when that gets picked up by news organizations across the country, those create backlinks for your brand. And that will help you be found via Google search much, much faster. So I want to make sure that we're having a business conversation, but ultimately, you guys know that I run a marketing agency. So we're going to talk about foundational business practices first, and then we're going to kind of evolve, if we've got some time, into marketing best practices, so that you understand that the foundation is built first, obviously, like the base of a triangle, right? Or the base of a house. And then it's about building outward from there. And that's really where the marketing comes into play. So I hope that you guys will play, ask questions, and we'll get to those as well. I love it. All right, so moving along. As Robin said, I like to figure it out and get it done. This is one of my absolute favorite quotes. Business partner of mine from early days used to say this all the time. She also used to say, if you can Google it, I'm going to make you sit in the corner and figure it out on your own. But everything is figure outable. It really, truly is. So again, putting one foot in front of the other and making sure that you are aggressively pushing your brand forward is really critical. And my team knows that they have to hustle hard to figure out how to get something done. So this is also the agenda we're going to get through if we have time. As I said, my hope is that we don't get through much of this, because you guys are asking so many important and valuable questions for your businesses. But we're going to go through how to fight the fear, what legalizing it really means, what branding is all about. We're going to have a couple exercises. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to play within those exercises. And then we're going to continue down the marketing conversation. So that is the trajectory of this conversation. All right, so number one is fighting the fear. I will tell you, especially right now with everything that's happening in the world, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of fear mongering, and it's freaking scary to start a business. Let's be totally honest. I think that the fear gets in the way a lot of times, especially for new baby startups. So I don't know how many of you guys are new startups in the world, but it's a scary decision to take that leap of faith into running and starting a company. And because of that, I think a lot of people decide that they're just going to dip a toe. And I call that faking the funk, because the truth is, like, the way that you show up for some things is the way that you show up for everything. And I like to liken it to dating a little bit, right? So if you texted someone once and you called them once and you went on one coffee date, you're probably not going to end up with that person. However, if you really dedicated yourself to that relationship and you had great phone conversations and you went to beautiful dinners and you met the family, it's really about developing a deep relationship with your loved one. And it's a very similar conversation to how you should show up for your business. If you're just dipping a toe, the likelihood is that you're not going to be as successful. And I think we had a couple of questions in here. Robin, is it cool if I answer these live? Is that cool with you?
Yes, go ahead. If you want me to, I can.
No, I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it live. So Rachel asks, I'd love some chat on imposter syndrome. It's certainly a real thing. There's an odd intersection of confidence and why me. I will tell you that this never really goes away, Rachel. It's just about recognizing it and almost kind of third personing it, if that makes sense. Seeing the experience, recognizing it as it's happening, and instead of putting judgment on it, just being aware. It's the same thing with fear. It's the same thing with anxiety. It's the same thing with all of those negative emotions and those little, conversational demons that are on your shoulder sometimes. But we all have those, from the top C-suite executives in the world down to baby startups. So imposter syndrome is a real thing. I have a belief, and I've had a lot of conversations actually on my channel about this. that women happen to have it more so than men. I do think that that is a systemic issue. Robin and I kind of touched upon that a little bit in the early part of this conversation. And it's okay. I think that that's the big takeaway for imposter syndrome, is that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to have days when you're upset and crying and you're feeling like you're a total failure. I've been running my business for almost 13 years, and we've worked with over 200 brands at this point, and I still have those moments. So I think it's a very real syndrome. It's also very okay to feel that way. And the best way to overcome it is a couple of things. One is to have a great team of advisors around you. And I'm so glad you brought this up, Rachel, because I did not put that in the startup legal side of this, but it's really about developing an advisory board. So early days in your company, you're not going to have a board of directors. There's a whole different legal ramification to having a BOD. You need to have insurance, etc. But that should not stop you from developing an advisory board. And usually that's anywhere from, let's call it 3 to 5 plus people, all of whom have very different skill sets to yours. And the reason that that board is so important, well, one, you should be able to call upon them at any given time to offer you feedback, connect you with someone in the business world that you need, and more than anything else, hold you accountable. But second, to your question, Rachel, you can call upon those people and say, I'm feeling X, Y, and Z way. What do you think? And it's really about having the right team and family around you that can guide you through that moment of fear, that moment of imposter syndrome. So that I would say be the number one thing that you can do, is surrounding yourself with a team of advisors. And sometimes it's just about calling a girlfriend or a guy friend, right? I know that I have this happen to me all the time, especially when I have a big new client pitch. I'm like, I'm never going to be good enough. They're never going to hire me. They always end up doing it. And you know, Rachel, that they're always going to end up working with you, right? It's just these little voices inside our heads. I'm very lucky to have a husband who has run a company also in the marketing space. I know we're crazy running 2 agencies. And so he's been running that company for 20 years. He doesn't have that kind of imposter syndrome in the same way that I do. So I use him as a sounding board for a lot of those conversations. But I just want to let you know it is very real, and it is very okay to feel that way. It's a big conversation in the female community right now. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Rachel. I really appreciate it. I hope that answered your question. Keep them coming, guys. This is what it's about. It's about having an open and honest dialogue, so you don't feel like you're alone in this process, because you don't have to be. And at the end of this conversation, I will share with you my personal email. Actually, I can do it right now. It's Laurel, Laurel @elevatemybrand.com. As Robin mentioned, we're going to be doing a giveaway at the end of this, but if you need a sounding board, I always hold myself time and space in my day to talk to other female entrepreneurs and give you some time to bounce things off. In fact, we're doing this really cool thing recently where we're offering free 30-minute consults to any businesses that want it. And in exchange for that, we're asking that you donate to one of 3 charities that we've chosen, so that we are paying it forward to you. And then you in turn are paying it forward to a nonprofit, so that we can all kind of be supportive in this really strange time that we are in. So please reach out. I really do make myself available, and I really do believe in women helping women. So I'll get off my soapbox on that one. But thank you for the question, Rachel. It's really relevant and valuable. Thank you. Okay, so fighting the fear, imposter syndrome is super relevant to that conversation. And the next piece of it is showing up as a business. As I mentioned, so many new entrepreneurs dip a toe and fake the funk early days. If you're going to go for it, you really need to go for it. It will take you 2 to 3 times, that's the statistic, 2 to 3 times as long if you're only dipping your toe part way into your business objective, into your new business concept, than it would if you went full bore. So if you're going to do it, do it. Don't have a day job, don't have a net. This is your only chance. This is your only life. Go for it. If you take nothing away from this conversation, it's that you are very capable of doing whatever you set your mind to, but you got to do it full bore. And of course, I said here, half-ass is setting yourself up for failure. Apology for the potty mouth, but you want to be setting yourself up for success, and really committing yourself to this process is the most important way to do that. And then of course, the last bullet here, how you show up for some things is how you show up for everything. And I actually had a really funny moment just last night where I think I'd worked out, I was taking my my workout clothes off, and I threw them in the hamper, and one of the socks fell out of the hamper, and I was like, whatever, not a big deal. And then I thought of this quote because I had just written it into this deck, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to not do full bore and not put everything into the hamper, then I am not showing up for myself in the way that I want to present myself in the universe. And I know it was just like a silly little tiny moment, but it really was such a funny pause moment for me to be like, look, I have to walk this talk as well. So again, don't forget that this is not just about you guys in startup land. If you're starting something new, I've been doing this for almost 13 years. I have these conversations with myself every single day. I see another question in the chat. I work for a large corporation, but I want to elevate me as a brand. Do both the large corporations and my personal brand overlap? This is a great question. This is more of a marketing question. So I guess my question back to you, Rhonda, would be, is this your corporation, and how far up the chain are you? And is your personal brand totally different from the corporate brand? Because there are ways for it to overlap. I would want to know a little bit more about that, but maybe we can take that offline after the conversation, or maybe we can have a dialogue at the end of this. So thank you guys for the questions. The next stage here is about legalizing it. I know that the law is not a sexy conversation. Trust me, I know. I was in that world for some time, but it is so important. And again, it's one of the missing pieces for so many companies. The first piece is not showing up as a real business, and the second is not having the proper legalization structure behind your brand. And there's a couple different pieces I want to talk about here as well. So the first piece that people are really kind of scared of is how to legally structure your business. And so I've broken down all of the different opportunities here. You can have an LLC, it's a limited liability corporation, an actual corporation, a full-blown C Corp is what they call it, an S Corp, which is limited in terms of the partnerships. And then I'm blocking my screen here, partnerships, which is just a one-to-one, or a sole proprietorship, which is probably where most of you guys are right now. So I want you to understand the difference between all of these and what I would do in order to understand what you should be building. So the reason that you want a corporate structure in general is because you want to have a separation between you as an individual and the liability issues that may arise with your company. So it's called a corporate veil. I don't know why it's called that. It's a little bit gendered actually when you think about it, but really what it's supposed to be doing is blocking liability. So if someone sues your company, they can't come after you personally. And that is one reason that you would structure your business legally separate from being a sole proprietor. However, you want to make sure that you're building it the right way for your long-term business goals. So you have to think through, is this a company that I am looking to fundraise? Is this a company that I'm looking to exit at some point? Because if you're looking to sell shares of this company eventually, then you might want to think about a C Corp or an LLC structure where you have shares that you can sell basically to other interested investors. And then a partnership, like I said, is a one-to-one. Oftentimes those are legal partnerships or just two people that are getting together. You really want to, as a best practice, talk to your accountant or bookkeeper, because they will ask you these kinds of questions so that you can understand how you're going to pay yourself, what your taxation liability is going to look like, and what concerns liability-wise in general you have to think about before you decide on building your corporate structure. And I got another question in the Q&A from an anonymous attendee. Funny how these questions go anonymous when they're illegal, I find. This question asks, is it true that if you're planning on going for VC funding that you have to incorporate as a C Corp? It is not true. However, it is usually the structure that a lot of businesses will take. It's a simplified structure. LLCs have some limitations. I'm not going to go into all of the details, but it really depends on the volume of revenue that you're planning on building in the company. So for example, when I built my company originally, I was a sole owner. So it has to also do with how many people are founders in the company and have founder partner name. Because when I built the company, I first started as an LLC. And then as we started making more and more money, a sole LLC owner actually has what's called pass-through. So I'm still not technically, I still didn't technically have that corporate veil between the taxation issues for me personally and the taxation issues for the company. So an LLC may be a fine structure to fundraise if you have multiple partners, and it really does, it's ultimately, it's up to the courts to look at your structure and look at how you've been running your business and say, yes, that is a separate entity, and we're going to protect it as such and hold you separate from it, which is why a lot of businesses prefer that corporate structure. And again, anonymous, this comes back to your taxation issues, right? So this conversation is, we could talk about this for hours. Honestly, there's so many details to it. I would really suggest you just talk to your accountant and talk them through what your long-term plan is, because you can fundraise with both an LLC, you can fundraise with a corporation, but there's some thought process that has to go through how you're going to distribute shares, how you're paying yourself, the taxation issues, and then of course the actual legal liability issues. I know that's not a perfect answer, but the answer really is that you can do both of those. So that's a great question. Another question we got is, what software do you suggest for managing finances? I know QuickBooks is the standard, but Bench is a new company. Wondering what you suggest. I love this, you guys. Great questions. So I have to be honest, I have a bookkeeper and she uses QuickBooks. So that is what we use. There are other platforms out there like Bench. I think there's a platform out there called Blend that's really good. There's a lot of other companies out there that do this kind of work. It depends on if this is something you're going to be managing yourself or if you're eventually going to be hiring someone to handle it for you. Financials, full transparency, are not my strong suit. I'm actually dyslexic. I like to share that. And so numbers for me are very jumbled. So I was very clear early on, and I'm glad you brought this up because it's another really important point, is you should really be hiring for the roles and responsibilities that you're not great at. And for me, that was the financial piece of it. However, when I started paying attention to my financials, my P&L, my cash flow, my AR, all of those reports, that's when my business really started to grow, because your financials really do read like a resume, like a diary of your business. So it's absolutely critical that you pay attention to your financials every single week. I look at them with my bookkeeper. But I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you on that. Actually, we should never say we're sorry. Thank you for the question. I use QuickBooks. However, there are a lot of other tools out there. Again, I would say talk to your accountant, talk to your bookkeepers, see what they're using, but certainly QuickBooks is best in class right now. It's certainly not a perfect tool, but until you are a big company and you want to build something fully custom, I would say QuickBooks is probably the low-hanging fruit. They've got really good customer service, and they do a lot of quality on their product. So I would say QuickBooks, like you said, is the standard. But if you want to try something else, then you know, there's no harm in that either. The more important takeaway here is making sure that you are taking it seriously, just like you are building your corporate structure and your financials, making sure you're looking at those numbers month over month at the very least, so you can understand things like, when do I need to hire someone? If you can see your cash flow and you see that you're starting to get really busy, whether this is a product and you're scaling that up and you need sales team, or whether you're a service and you need people to actually execute on that service, looking at these numbers are going to help you understand from a macro level, timing wise, what it looks like to have to hire these people. And remember, the hiring process is really one of the hardest pieces in all of this. I mean, building a business is friggin' hard. Like, there's no way around it, but understanding and not being afraid of these pieces is going to make it that much easier for you. And again, like, if you have real questions, detailed questions about your specific businesses, reach out to me. I can certainly talk to you as I am today about my personal journey. And then I'm also happy to make introductions to our bookkeepers, our accounting team. Like, we've got great people. It's really about hiring the right people to help you run your business the right way. So thank you so much for that question. Okay, so we talked about corporate structure. I also don't want you to be afraid of the money part of it, right? That's one of the main reasons that people decide that they're not going to legalize their business. Oh, I just don't want to spend the money on it. It's just going to be too expensive. I will tell you, it is a lot more expensive to have to figure it out on the back end. And we've certainly seen this with brands we work with. So again, full transparency, while I do run a marketing agency, I have a separate entity that is still a law firm. Because we do so much branding work, our clients kept pushing me to do all of the protection behind it because I am still barred in California. And so now we do a ton of trademark work still to make sure that the brands we build are protected on the legal side. So I probably file anywhere from 30 to 50 trademarks a year. So I really do still know this inside and out, even though it's not my day to day. And I will tell you that we have had, it's so sad. We've had at least half a dozen companies who didn't build their corporate structure the right way and who ended up having to completely rebrand because they didn't have intellectual property protection, their trademarks attached to their corporate structure, and their trademarks were denied because there was another brand out there that was already using it within their category. So again, the big takeaway here is have conversations with smart people who have gone through this before you, because they will lead you down the right path, and don't let them freak you out. There are so many different like jargon words out there, both on the marketing and the legal side, that consultants and contractors will use to try and freak you out and make you feel like you need them. All you need is to understand the macro picture and then make a decision based on your specific business. So don't let them scare you. You can absolutely do this. This is why I show up today, to make sure that you guys understand, at least at a very basic level, what all these pieces mean and how to continue the conversation so that you can be super successful in your business. So I hope that that helped. I think we got another question in there from Rachel. And this is great, guys. This is always my goal, is to not get through any of my slides because there are so many awesome questions that we have to answer in real time. So Rachel asks, obviously building a company takes a great deal of time and energy. I see on IG that you have a yoga practice, part of my release as well, but what are other ways that you bring balance to a hectic life? Well, thank you for following me. I appreciate it. I'm at Laurel Mintz in case anyone else wants to. Hectic life. Okay. Yes. Well, first of all, again, transparency, because you guys know that this is my brand is about being super clear and concise and transparent. I don't have kids, and that was really intentional. My husband and I both run our own companies, and we never had that burning desire, and so we felt it would be unfair to have kids just because we thought we should. So that certainly helps me have a little more time and energy on my books. But of course, running businesses, they really become our children, aside from my fur babies, which I love. And life is hectic for everyone. So here's kind of my tools of the trade in terms of how I get through hectic life. Number one is fitness is non-negotiable. So I have to make sure that I work out at least 4 or 5 days a week. I just got a Peloton, and I'll share with you a personal story because I want you guys to know that I'm not perfect either. I went ham on the Peloton. I strained my groin muscle, and I was on bed rest for 2 weeks. So that was super fun and a lesson learned that we need to stretch as we get older. Been running a business for a long time, known Robin longer than that. Hopefully I don't look it, but yeah, as we get older, we have to change how we deal with our day-to-day. But fitness is definitely number one for me. And then I have a morning routine that I also have as non-negotiable. So I wake up in the morning and I chug a bottle of water because you lose a lot of your hydration overnight. I don't know about you, but I'm a hot sleeper, so I sweat through my sheets often. In fact, we have really amazing NASA developed sheets that help cool because I'm such a hot-headed sleeper. So I wake up and I chug water. A lot of people do that with lemon. Anyways, you just need to hydrate as the first thing because it really wakes your body up. And then before I ever check my phone in the morning, I do a couple of things. One, I write in a gratitude journal. There's a couple. There's one called the 5-minute journal, which is a lovely starting point. I use another one that's I'm totally blanking. I'll send it to Robin so she can send it out to you guys. But ultimately, it's about being so grateful for the things that you have and setting intentions for your day. I do that. It takes me like 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, and I do the same thing at night so that I'm kind of looking back on my day, even if it was a crap day, and I can say, these are the things that I did successfully. These were the things that really lit me up. This is how I can be better tomorrow. And these are the things that I'm super grateful for. And I know it sounds super, super cheesy, but it is all about being grateful for what you have. I meditate. That's another thing. Peloton has some great meditation teachers, even just 10 minutes. And I also make sure that on Monday mornings, when I have my all hands meetings with my team, I make them meditate with me for 10 minutes as well. So I get them in a calm and collected mindset. And I also call them out throughout the day and ask them to do silly things like their homework this week was to just put in our Slack channel a moment of joy that they had throughout the day. So it's really about attitude, I have to say, and about consistency in practice. So consistency in fitness, consistency in gratitude journaling, consistent in hydration. I don't know if you guys have seen these hydrate bottles. This is so amazing. I really should be like a brand ambassador for them, but they actually are app connected and they remind you when you need to drink water throughout the day so that you maintain your hydration levels optimally. And being hydrated, I know it sounds so silly, but it makes all the difference in the world for me as well, in terms of my tiredness, my energy levels, all of that good stuff. So Rachel, I hope that that answered your question. And look, not every day is perfect, but every day is an opportunity to be better. And sometimes you wake up and it's, you know, a bad day, and those are okay as well. Again, similar to imposter syndrome, you have to give yourself what I call grace and space to show up and mess up. And that has to be okay from time to time. We are not ever going to be perfect. So I hope that answered your question. See that there's some chat happening. And there's another question in here as well. Yes, okay, good. So then the last piece in here is about contracts. The really exciting thing I will tell you about contracts, which I know sounds like an oxymoron, contracts and exciting, not really, shouldn't really be in the same conversation, but the exciting thing currently is that there is a trend towards flat fee legal fees. What I mean by that is you should be able to reach out to your law firm or to your lawyer and say, hey, I've got these 3 things I need done. What is that going to cost me? I need a flat fee rate. Gone are the days of these crazy, you know, $700 to $1,000 to $1,200 an hour fees for these crazy lawyers. I think that technology has necessitated lawyers giving flat fee rates, because there's like the LegalZooms and all these other platforms out there, which are not great. So please don't do those. But it's required attorneys, especially in the corporate world, to create flat fee structures so that they can maintain their practice, right? So you should be able to go to your lawyers and say, I need a vendor contract, I need a general agreement, I need a scope drafted, whatever that needs to be for your specific business. Tell me what the flat fee should be for those documents. Because the truth is, and again, I'm super transparent with you guys because I do this as well. So reach out if you need more help. Is that we have these documents drafted. It's just about personalizing them and customizing them for your specific brand. So attorneys always would charge these crazy fees because they would make you feel like they were building these from scratch, and that's total BS. They definitely are not doing that. They're definitely just fitting your peg into their round peg into square hole. I think that's saying. Anyways, you need to have your contracts in place. That's, again, the big takeaway. Corporate structure is number 1. Figuring out what structure you need based on your liability and your taxation, how you're paying yourself, and the growth trajectory of your company. Talk to your accountants and bookkeepers. Make sure that you're looking at your financials at least month over month, and then make sure you have your contracts locked up. In the long run, it will save you. I promise you, it is worth spending a few $1,000s to get all this done now to make sure that you're avoiding those issues long term. And again, you know, I straddle both sides of this fence, right? So I have the business side as well as the legal side. And I have had so many times when people have, or clients rather, have canceled early terminated contracts for whatever reason. We had a couple that did it during COVID because they pivoted their business. And I was like, look, you're still selling a product. There's no reason we can't continue to market this within the scope of our agreement. They just wanted to try and use it to get out of what they were paying, right? Even though we were really successful for them. And so I was really clear in my contract, and we have a very detailed and specific process. And so my response back to them was, okay, just so you know, if you terminate early, these are the fees that get tacked on. This is what you're losing out on, X, Y, and Z. And I was super transparent. And if they do it anyways, then it's a matter of sending a demand letter and hopefully never having to go to court. I will tell you, I've had maybe half a dozen issues in my life, in my legal life or in my marketing life on the legal side. It never goes to court. 95% of any issues will settle out of court. So making sure that you have the right contract in place that protects you to the maximum is going to make that so much simpler. The other piece that I actually didn't mention in here is just keeping a paper trail of things. Don't let your vendors, don't let your clients call you on the phone and say X, Y, and Z. Make sure that you're always documenting things and getting it confirmed, even if it's just via email. Because the truth is that a contract is a very simple, it's both parties agree to the same thing. There is money or something else exchanged. It's called consideration in the value of, for the value of whatever it is that you're doing. And everyone is on the same page. So if you can show that even via email chain, then you're going to be in really good shape should an issue arise. And ultimately, that's really what we're trying to set you up for, is to make sure that hopefully nothing happens. But if it does, as our job as lawyers is to make sure that we are issue spotting prior to issues arising. And that's what all of these legal pieces will allow you to do. So I hope that that's super helpful. I know there's another message down here. I want to see if that is a question. Nope, just from Todd. Thank you so much, Todd. It sounds so basic to me because I'm on the legal side of it. It doesn't have to be overwhelming on your side. Honestly, that's why there are so many experts out there. And there's also a lot of law firms that will take these on contingency or what's it called? Delayed payment, deferred payment, because they know that you're in startup mode or that you're fundraising, and they'll take a little less upfront because they know long-term you're going to make a lot of money and you'll pay them back. So they're actually investing their time and effort into you that way as well. The long and short of it is there are workarounds to all of this, and I hope that that's what you take away today. Okay, so that is the legal side of it. Any further questions on legal? I know we've got about 10 minutes left. Robin, I don't know if you want to open it up to a dialogue around this, or if I should just keep going into the marketing side, because I did want to get a little bit of marketing pieces in there as well, if you guys want to hear about it, because that's the other side of this. Is now you've built the legal side of your business. How do we then market and brand you to make sure that you are really showing up the way that you want to for your audience?
Yeah.
So I just want to pause. Is that cool? Okay. So this is kind of branding 101, guys. So I'm going to give you some tools on how to build a brand, because I know that was one of the questions in the QA section. But the quote here is really important. It's branding is not telling people who you are. It's managing what other people say you are. So I'm going to ask you a question. If you could answer in the chat, when you hear or see the logo BMW, what do you think of? Just put in like whatever words, adjectives, emotions, like what is it that you feel when you see the BMW logo? Car, yep. What else? I think maybe luxury, right? Luxury, dependable. Sometimes people think expensive, German engineering. There's a lot of different ways that people see BMW as a brand. And then I'm going to ask the same thing of Nike. What do you guys think of when you see the Nike swoosh? What do you guys think? Fitness, sports, workout, just do it, performance, totally. So that's a perfect example of how we as a collective are projecting our own feelings and emotions onto the brands that these companies have built. Now, clearly these are brands that are what we call heritage brands. They've been around for a really long time, so they have had a lot of time to build up these brands. But I would hope that each of you wants to build a brand that has that kind of lifespan. So just keeping in mind that even though you may say your brand is X, Y, and Z, other people may say differently. And I had another just quick story. You know, my logo is very purple and swooshy, and very early days, it was a totally different look and feel. And people were very confused. They actually thought that we were a food brand. They kept associating us with food. And while we certainly serviced a lot of CPG brands in the space, We wanted to be known as a marketing agency. And so we had to come to terms with the fact that people's understanding of who we were as a brand was not who we thought we were and what we thought we were projecting out in the world. And the best way to understand that is by asking your audience. So I don't know how many of you guys have actually built your brands and built your logos, but if you have, the next thing I would suggest that you do is crowdsource people's response to that brand. Now, this is also a really great opportunity as you are building out your logos, your color theories, all of those. You can use social media as a fantastic tool to ask people how they're really responding to what it is that you're building, so that they can feel like they're a part of the process. So what I would do is I would put up, your logos, 3 colorways, and I would ask people to vote 1, 2, or 3. And that way you're building a brand based on real-time feedback from your audience, not just what you're creating kind of in a bubble. And I think people get too close to their brands that they can't see their nose to spite their face, or the forest for the trees, or whatever the metaphor is. Making sure that you're reflecting in real time who you are as a brand to your audience and getting that back from them is going to be so valuable as you build this out into something hopefully really big. And the other really exciting point about crowdsourcing is that it will help you build what we call brand evangelists, people who are super excited about you, super excited about your brand and what you're building. Because think about it, if you picked a color theory that 80% of the people in your social circle picked, and they see that you're using it, they're going to say to themselves, I had a part in building that brand. And they're going to feel so much more connected just inherently with what it is that you're doing. And then long term, as you continue to build, they will be hopefully really connected to your brand throughout the lifespan of your brand. So please ask any questions on the branding and marketing conversation here as well. But I hope that this was kind of a clear kind of branding 101. The other piece that I wanted to talk about very, very briefly, because I know this is a huge part of the conversations we're all having right now, is about how to stay profitable during a global pandemic from a marketing perspective, right? The big takeaway here, because we built our company in 2009, and during that time, there was another massive downturn. The economy was tanking, the housing market was tanking. This was when I was running my dad's furniture business, which was a sinking ship. I'm totally transparent with you guys. It was so hard. But what we saw when I was able to step away and started my agency at that time were the companies that were still committed to spending money on their digital, on their advertising and their marketing, were the ones that came out of that time far more profitable in the long run. So if you are not currently spending money on digital, you got to get in the game. We're seeing cost per click go up a little bit more currently, but what we saw early days during COVID is that all these big brands were what we call ostriching, right? They were freaking out. They were pulling their money out of their ad spend. They're pulling their budgets down, and they were sticking their head in the sand and pretending like this was not happening. And while that was, I think, a dumb mistake on their part, what it means for smaller businesses like yours is that you can capture more eyeballs and more market share with a lower spend. So if you take nothing else away from this particular slide, it's that doubling down on your digital, or at least stepping your toes into the digital market, is going to be super critical for you. Obviously, getting more social, that's kind of a no-brainer. Everyone is in front of their computers right now. I think the percentage increase in traffic on social channels is like 33% and above. So making sure that you are getting more social is absolutely critical. And then, of course, putting your people first. The transparency that this experience has created means that brands that are not showing up and have purpose and really putting their people first and putting their community and the global community at large within their conversation in their marketing are really having a hard time with their growth models right now. So I got another question in the chat. Where's my mouse? There we go. So Kara asks, what is the best way to get enough business and to get profitable if you are, for instance, a B2B agency and not a consumer product? Okay, so this is probably the last piece that I'm going to talk to you guys about, but this is going to be major. So get your pens and paper ready. Do people actually write with pens anymore? I don't even know. Probably not. But the best way for you to start drawing in business if you are a startup brand and you're B2B is on the content marketing side. I'm going to give you guys what we do for our clients, because you can do this at home right now as well. And that is that we know it takes a minimum of 2 pieces of content a week to organically impact traffic. And there's 2 sides of this, right? We were just talking about the digital side. That's on the spend, the paid side. And then there's the organic side. And the organic side is where you can really start to pick up traffic. Of course, the 2 have to play nice together. But if I were in your position, Kara, what I would be doing would be using Google's free keyword planner, seeing what most of the people who are searching for what you do keyword wise are searching for. And I would build that into just a simple calendar or even just a spreadsheet, right? An Excel spreadsheet. None of this has to be super fancy. We have fancy tools because we've been doing it a long time, but don't let that scare you. So use the Google free keyword planner. And then also, we are in what's currently called semantic web, which means Google, in its infinite wisdom, is serving us as consumers exactly what we want almost in real time when we start to type. But the reason that it's so valuable for you as a brand, whether you're B2B or B2C, is that if you're building out these content calendars and you're using the keyword planner tool, and semantic web, meaning you're starting to type what you believe people are organically or semantically searching for, and you build those sentences, those semantic sentences into your overall marketing content calendar, then you're going to be what we call conquesting eyeballs, conquesting traffic away from other brands in your space or other companies that are servicing in the same category. There's only so many eyeballs out there. So if you are creating great content, you're going to be pulling content from other platforms that are doing the same thing that you're doing. So content is king, queen, and the Duke of York. It is so critical, and it is always the low-hanging fruit for startup brands that don't have a lot of money to spend. And then the other pushback we get, let me see how much time, 4 minutes. Okay. The other pushback we get is, oh my gosh, I am a baby startup brand. I don't have the time and energy to create 2 blog posts a week. I call BS on that. And what I want you guys to do is go onto Amazon and buy a ring light. That's really why I look good right now, aside from my cool background, which my graphic designer built for like $100. I have a ring light, I have a great audio, and I literally, if you go to elevatemybrand.com's blog page and you filter by video, you'll be able to see, it's literally me sitting behind my desk or sitting in this green chair, which you can't see right now. And I do outfit changes, hair and makeup changes, put a pop of lip on, whatever. And I crank out as many of those just quick 30-second videos within a day as possible. And oftentimes, within a day or 2, you can get a quarter's worth of content done. And then it's really just about editing, graphic overlays, intros, outros, which we can talk about at a later date. But the purpose is to get in front and just do it. The Nike approach, right? We saw the swoosh earlier. Content right now is absolutely going to be your best tool. And the great part is that people don't expect it to be perfect right now because we're in a pandemic, because we know that there's not a lot of time and space for studios or safety in studios right now. You can go in and mess up your content and play with it and be fun and just try it. There's no harm in trying it. And the other big takeaway here is that Google, while Google is the largest search engine in the world, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, and people don't think about it as a search engine. So the reason that I push video content so heavily is because if you're creating videos and you're putting it up on YouTube, and then the YouTube API is built into your blog page, and tell me if I'm getting too advanced here, and then you translate that video into written content, and then you can put some of those keywords that you might have missed from the keyword planner into that blog content, then you're playing nice organically with both of the largest search engines in the world. And this is pre-ad spend. So of course we want to spend some money with Google. Google released a statement, I want to say earlier this year, that said, if you don't spend money with us, you're never going to be found. So make sure that you're spending at least a little bit of money on Google, playing nice with that 800-pound gorilla. But you can build traffic through great content, and don't worry about giving it all away for free. I'm talking about 30, 60-second snippets that you can just bang out really quickly that are little enticing moments. And ultimately, this is all about SEO, right? This is about building in traffic tools so that Google sees you as more of a news site because you're frequently updating your content. Okay, I think that is the time that we have. I think there might be maybe one more question in here that I can answer. How can you translate your video into text? So there are great tools out there. I don't know them off the top of my head, but literally if you just Google translation applications, there's a million out there. I believe YouTube may have one that's native. And then if it's really big content, you can use tools like Fiverr and like Upwork and have people translate it. That's all they do. And you can do it very inexpensively, and you can do it also at flat fee rates. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to do this work. And again, it does not have to be that hard. Don't get in your own way. Take those first steps, make sure you're doing it the right way the first time, get all your legal work done, and then we can talk about more marketing down the road. Maybe Robin will invite me back to continue this conversation, because I have like 10 more slides that I never got to. But like I said, that was the whole purpose here, was to spew as much information as possible, make sure that you feel like you can really do this, and give you the tools to do it. So I think that's my time.
Awesome. This has been a wealth of knowledge. You know what, what we'll do is, okay, just to let everyone know, Laurel's presentation will be a part of her speaker profile and UpLevel, so that you'll be able to access those slides once we get them on there. This has been great because honestly, you know, I think that knowing like those key aspects, right, of, like you said, don't be shy to spend a little bit of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Digital marketing, you know, spend whatever that looks like for you. And especially right now, because how are you going to stand out of this really noisy crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much content. And so, yeah, I think it's, even if it's just a minimal amount of money, you know, per day, I think that that is really valuable information. And I love the whole idea about branding, like looking at those different brands, and it's like, well, what does each of those mean for you? I think it's a great way to think about your own brand. I think it's,
and there are some exercises in that slide too. So everyone, don't feel like I left you high and dry. Robin will send you the slides so that you guys can go through these exercises, because there's a lot more work to be done, obviously.
Yes, no, definitely. And so to wrap things up, because you did an awesome job of like managing the audience Q&A during it. Like usually I take care of that at the end. So thank you for that. If one thing actually there was two other quick questions, Laurel, if we could just like get to them really, really quick before we winner. So one of them is Rhonda asked, what about spending money on LinkedIn?
Money on LinkedIn, if you're a service business, is probably very wise. However, just note that LinkedIn is a more expensive platform. So my suggestion would be to what we call high velocity A/B test. And really that's just a fancy way of saying like test all the three things that you need to test first on a less expensive platform. Like when I say Facebook, I mean the Facebook family. So Facebook, Instagram, because you can test at like, I think $10 a day. And you want to be testing for three things. You want to test the creative, so the visual aspects of the brand. You want to test the messaging, and then you want to test the targeting. And if you test all three of those things, and make sure that you're only testing one thing at a time across those channels, within a 2-week period of time and for a couple $100, you can really narrow your focus down to a delta that is minimal. So you can see this is the creative that's delivering, this is the target audience that's really receiving it, and this is the messaging that's associated with it. And only then would I take that and spend on LinkedIn, because it's a more expensive platform. I do think LinkedIn is very valuable because you can drill down into title. And so especially if you're on the service side, if you know who's purchasing your product or service, you can talk directly to them through the LinkedIn advertising channel. But don't do it until you know what you're doing, because then you're going to spend a lot of money and probably waste it. So don't do that.
Final thing is, so everyone wants to know what the brand is of your hydrating bottle and the app.
Oh, it's just called Hydrate, Hydrate. I'm like I said, I'm dyslexic. I'm the world's worst speller. And this is actually the older version. They've got a newer version that's really, really cool. And it glows and it tells you when to drink. And like I said, it really helps me stay centered and keep it together, especially on those really hard days. So highly, highly recommend.
Yep, definitely. Okay, so without further ado, we are going to name our winner. And I'm just like looking down.
Before we do that, can I just say, Robin, thank you so much for having me. Can we give her like a little applause, guys? Robin, you're crushing it right now. I know it's so hard to build a new community, and I just want to say you're doing great work, and I so appreciate you having me on. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I'm the one that just feels super grateful to just know such incredible people such as yourself and all, you know, the other speakers that I've had on Up Level, and, you know, just reconnecting, making new connections and building this out, and really just trying to help people, whether it's up leveling their career, you know, or up leveling their business if they have one, or up leveling their life. You know, maybe they want to take a plunge, they want to, you know, make a pivot, whatever that is. And all of you and everyone I've had on, you know, have built incredible brands and incredible businesses. And, you know, you have just a lot of knowledge to impart. So I'm the one that feels very, very grateful. So thank you. Okay, let's see. Who are we going to choose? Like, quiet drum roll, please. So, Cara Posse or Posey, if you're still with us, type in the chat. Yes, she's here. Okay, awesome. I am going to type in my email really quick here. Okay, so it's robin@moveuplevel.com. Cara, however you pronounce your name. Please send me an email. That way I can forward you on to Laurel, and Laurel and her team can coordinate day and time for your marketing strategy session. Super excited for you. I'm sure by Laurel's presentation, you know that you're going to get an incredible marketing strategy session with her. So congrats, Cara. Thank you everyone for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. As I mentioned, all of our sessions are accessible on our website, so you can view them at any time. Always give us a couple of days to get our newest session on there. Laurel, I'm so thrilled that you're able to do this. Such a wealth of knowledge. I'm sure that people are going to be able to walk away and just, you know, think twice about, well, what does it take to start a business? Or, you know what? Hey, now I should start spending some money, right, on digital marketing. So thank you so much. I am so grateful. This was such an awesome session. Thank you everyone for being here. And guess what? We'll see you next week. Bye for now.